I never could have imagined that a simple trip to our favorite fast food joint would turn into a whirlwind of chaos and false accusations. Little did I know that a lady named Karen would knock me off and play victim, calling 911 for sympathy. Here's how it all went down. We decided to go to our favorite local fast food joint after practice. The place was packed with customers, and there was a lively atmosphere with the sound of conversations, order calls, and children's laughter. As we walked in, the familiar smell of fried potatoes and grilled patties greeted us, and the cool air from the air conditioner provided relief. Looking around, we saw the usual crowd of families, teenagers like us, and a few elderly people. But there was one person who stood out, an elegantly dressed lady sitting alone, engrossed in her meal and occasionally typing on her phone. She had a stunning diamond ring and gold hoop earrings, and her slightly pursed lips hinted at some kind of dissatisfaction, although everything seemed fine. We later found out her name was Karen. I was just trying to squeeze past Karen's table when I accidentally bumped into it. Before I knew it, things spiraled. I had a tray of drinks, and sure enough, her soda went flying right onto her crisp white blouse. "Oh my God, you're an idiot!" Karen shrieked, standing up abruptly. The restaurant went silent for a split second. "Look at this mess! This is a designer blouse!" "I'm really sorry, ma'am," I stuttered, taken aback by her extreme reaction. I quickly grabbed some napkins from a nearby counter, attempting to remedy the situation. "It was an accident. Let me help." Karen swatted the napkins away, her face a shade of furious red. "You think napkins are going to fix this? You youngsters think you can just go around ruining people's days and get away with it? It was just a mistake, I didn't mean to," I pleaded. My voice was already shaking slightly. She stepped closer to me, poking me in the chest with a pointed finger. "You've probably never worked a day in your life. This blouse costs more than you'd earn in months. What are you going to do about it?" In an attempt to defuse the rapidly escalating situation, I responded calmly, "I'm really sorry, ma'am. It was an accident. If there's anything I can do to make it right, please let me know." However, instead of finding a resolution, Karen, consumed by uncontrolled rage, swung her heavy leather purse. The unexpected and forceful blow caught me off guard, causing me to lose my balance. I stumbled backwards, colliding with another table, setting off a chain reaction of chairs toppling over and meals scattering across the floor. The entire restaurant erupted in gasps of shock, their attention instantly drawn to the unfolding drama. "He assaulted me!" Karen's voice was shrill, echoing throughout the restaurant, cutting through the murmur of conversations. She dramatically pointed at me, who was sprawled out on the floor, eyes wide in disbelief. "Someone please call the police! I'm in danger!" Shocked by the audacity of her claims, my friends sprinted over to my side, kneeling beside me. "Dude, are you all right?" one of them asked, looking me over for any injuries. I groaned, placing a hand to my forehead. "I think so. Just didn't see that coming," I replied, attempting to find my bearings and rise to my feet. A chorus of voices began to fill the restaurant. Several patrons, having seen the entire episode unfold, were not about to let Karen's skewed version of events stand. An elderly gentleman stood up from a nearby booth, steadying himself with a cane. "Ma'am," he began, his voice authoritative, "I saw everything. That young man merely bumped into your table. You're the one who took a swing at him with that purse of yours." A teenager, her hair dyed a vivid shade of blue, chimed in from a corner booth. "Seriously, lady? I had a clear view. You were the one who went all ninja with your bag." A mother, holding a toddler, added her voice to the mix. "Honestly, I don't know what you're trying to pull here. But playing the victim when you were clearly the aggressor? That's just wrong." The weight of the collective testimonies seemed to corner Karen, making her more desperate. Face flushed, she took out her phone, dialing with manic urgency. "Hello, 911. I need help. A teenager just attacked me." Her voice quivered, trying to sound as pitiable as possible amidst the dissenting voices around her. The entire restaurant gasped in disbelief. One of my friends couldn't help but blurt out, "You've got to be kidding. You knocked him over." Karen's eyes darted around, landing on each face as if searching for an ally. But she found none, shooting me a fierce glare that would have probably melted ice. She suddenly jumped onto a chair, creating a makeshift platform. "Is anyone going to help a lady in distress?" she cried dramatically, waving her arms around. It would have been comical if the situation wasn't so tense. A few people exchanged glances. Others tried suppressing chuckles. "I am being harassed by a gang of unruly teenagers." She pointed directly at our group, adding theatrics by clutching her pearls. I leaned in, my voice low. "Is she for real? She's making it sound like we're in some gangster movie." One of my friends nodded, chuckling. "She's probably auditioning for a drama series." The buzz of conversations grew louder, mostly filled with disbelief and amusement at Karen's theatrical performance. But as ridiculous as she was, her act was beginning to wear thin. A few moments later, the police arrived. They wore stern expressions but seemed a bit puzzled by the sight of a middle-aged woman standing on a chair in the middle of a fast food restaurant. After talking to a bunch of people in the place, it was super clear that Karen had spun this wild story that was straight up make-believe. One of the officers, who looked like he was biting the inside of his cheek to keep from laughing, decided to have a little one-on-one with her. "Ma'am," he started, barely hiding a smirk. "We deal with a lot of stuff daily, and I gotta say this isn't quite up there. You gotta know the difference between an actual problem and, well, whatever this is." She let out a sigh, her face dropping as if she'd been given a timeout. Her over-the-top act didn't pan out the way she'd hoped, and everyone could see it. With the drama concluded, we decided to grab our food and leave. But not before I got a few pats on the back and words of support from other customers. Exiting the local fast food, I shook my head, reflecting on the bizarre event. Some people are just, I don't even have words. My friend shrugged. You know, stuff like this really shows who's got your back. Nice to see not everyone just watches from the sidelines. For days after, the fast food drama was the talk of our school. Everyone had their own exaggerated version, but the moral was always the same. Always stand up for what's right, even if it means going against a hysterical Karen. Wow, I can't believe this actually happened. Karen really went all out with her dramatic performance. Glad to see the truth prevailed, and our protagonist had some support from other customers. Always stand up against the Karens of the world. I never expected a simple coffee run to turn into a battle of wills with the entitled woman at Starbucks. Little did I know that her condescending attitude and sense of entitlement would lead to a dramatic showdown. With a cold brew in hand and security closing in, here's how it all went down. So, look, you might think I'm about to tell you some wild fairy tale about fancy demons and heroes who work at coffee shops. But nah, this is a real story, mate. Even though my memory's a bit wonky, I've tried to remember the chat as best I could. And hey, just a heads up, some of the language might be a tad different because, you know, Aussie. But if you're not into these kind of tales, no worries. Move along. Let me elaborate on the incident that occurred during my usual Starbucks routine. I have a convenient habit of ordering my drink from Starbucks through the mobile app before I arrive at the store. This method has always worked wonders for me, ensuring that my drink is ready and waiting when I walk in. However, on this particular day, I encountered a rather unpleasant encounter with a snooty lady who believed that I should wait in line like everyone else. Despite her attempts to block me from collecting my drink, I chose not to comply with her unreasonable demand. Instead, she resorted to slapping my hand and throwing a full-on hissy fit. You see, there's this Starbucks right next to where I see my psychologist. I know, my fellow Aussies might laugh, but every now and then I just crave those sugary Starbucks drinks. Yeah, it's not our usual cuppa, but sometimes a girl just needs her $9 whipped cream extravaganza, especially before a heavy session. So yesterday, thinking ahead, I decided to order before getting there. Perfect timing. As I walked in, the barista was just finishing up my drink. As I headed over to collect my pumpkin spice cold brew, I suddenly felt a fancy hand on my arm. "Excuse me," came a posh voice. "You can't just skip the line?" I looked down to see these perfect nails and up into the eyes of a very irritated lady. I bet she's around mid-30s, looking like she walked straight out of a high-end fashion magazine with her sharp pantsuit, pristine makeup, and that sleek ponytail. Seriously, her jewelry and handbag alone screamed money. But her attitude? Pure I'm better than you? Honestly, she's giving me serious devil vibes. Let's call her B for Beelzebub. She turns to me with a smug smile. "Oi, that's not yours." I look at my cup with my name glaringly clear. You sure? 'Cause this says my name. What's yours?" She pouts. "It's long fancy name, not even close to yours. I got a huge fancy green tea with some vanilla thingy." Still baffled, I go, "Well, if it's green, it ain't mine. Maybe ask the barista or watch out for something that's Hulk-colored." Thinking I'd finally shut this down, I go to grab my drink. But she's not letting it go. She grips my arm, her smile now full-on creeping me out. B turns to me with that condescending tone. "I didn't say it was yours or mine, love. I saw you. You just strolled in, snatched a drink. That's not how things work here. Get in line and wait your turn." Bewildered, I tell her, I think you got it wrong. I ordered this earlier on the app. Check it out," showing her my confirmation email. As I try to grab my drink, thinking it's all sorted, she hits my hand away. Her eyes blazing, she retorts, "Doesn't matter. You just arrived. You can't just come in and take it. It's not fair. You wait like the rest." My hand's stinging, and honestly, I'm shocked. I mean, who does that? The place is crowded, people waiting and ordering, and she expects me to wait while my drink's ready? Hell no. Looking around, I lock eyes with a tired-looking barista who's seen it all. She's making her way over, looking like she's about to referee a boxing match. I explode. "What's the deal?" She slapped me. "Over coffee?" The barista, trying to be the peacemaker, asks, "What's going on?" Before I can say anything, B chirps in, "She needs to wait. It's only fair." I interrupt, "I ordered on the app. Look, and my name's right there on the cup." After confirming with a quick look, the barista says to B, "It's her drink. She ordered it." But B's not letting it go. "She should still wait. She just walked in." The barista, losing her patience, replies, "Orders are made as they come in. She ordered before you. She's done nothing wrong. Now, let her get her drink." Still, B keeps at it. "She should wait, period." I'm beyond annoyed now. Look, I have an appointment and she's just slapped me. Can we wrap this up? Maybe call security or something? The barista nods. I think we might have to. You know what's wild? Throughout this entire chaotic episode, B had managed to keep her composure in this eerily calm manner. She was using that all-too-familiar, I'm the mature one here and you're just a misbehaving kid kind of tone. I swear, her demeanor was like she was looking down at us with this, just wait and see, you'll get it eventually, kind of vibe. But oh boy, the real drama began when the barista passed me my order. The transformation on B's face was something out of a movie. She went from this poised, picture-perfect pout to a fiery, I'm 2 seconds away from blowing a fuse kind of glare. Her voice, cold and menacing like a harsh winter breeze, lashed out at the unsuspecting barista. This is outrageous! Do you even have a clue who you're dealing with? I demand to speak with your manager. Trust me, I won't be budging from this spot, and you certainly aren't going to be the one to make me. I glanced at the barista, expecting her to be terrified. Instead, she just looked like she wanted to roll her eyes so hard they'd fall out. She gave me a little nod toward the door, basically saying, "Get out while you can, I've got this." So, as B was throwing her tantrum, the crowd kind of made a path for me, like Moses and the Red Sea kind of thing. As I'm sneaking out, B spots me, shouting, "Hey, where do you think you're going? You can't just leave, she has to wait. Why can't any of you get that? Bring her back." I shot her a peace sign as I walked away. Just then, I heard the bell chime as security came in. B's anger shifted gears again, this time shouting about her rights, demanding apologies, and hitting the counter to emphasize each word. It all turned into background noise as I stepped out, gripping my cold brew, off to a therapy session I seriously needed after all that drama. In the aftermath of the Starbucks showdown with Beelzebub, I could easily imagine the scene vividly. The security guard, with a determined expression on his face, firmly marched her out of the coffee shop. Despite her kicking and protesting, her demeanor still radiated a snobbish flair, as if she believed she was above the rules. Threats of legal action would have likely been her parting shot, a desperate attempt to salvage her wounded ego. As I leisurely sipped my pumpkin spice latte, savoring the delightful combination of sweet and spicy flavors, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The image of her venti soy matcha latte, left cooling and abandoned on the counter, only made the moment sweeter, a poetic representation of her defeat. Life has a funny way of throwing unexpected curveballs at us. One moment, you're simply expecting a regular coffee run, and the next, you find yourself in the midst of a social showdown, facing off against an entitled individual. And now, as I recount this extraordinary story, I realize that it has taken on a life of its own. It's truly remarkable to think that I, an Aussie enjoying a quintessentially American beverage, would find myself caught up in such a whirlwind of events. It serves as a reminder that Starbucks, Karens, and wild encounters can happen anywhere, even here in Australia. There's something about that pumpkin spice flavor. Some call it a pumpkin-scented atrocity, but to me, it's a delightful blend. Maybe the closest I'll get to drinking a scented candle without a trip to the hospital. Many have asked why I didn't swing back when she got aggressive, but that's just not me. I've always chosen calm over confrontation, even if that means biting my tongue and keeping my hands to myself. Plus, the idea of being banned from my regular coffee haunt, or worse, facing an assault charge, wasn't appealing. Gratitude goes out to those Starbucks employees navigating these chaotic waters daily. It's interesting how some people struggle to grasp the concept of using apps effectively. For instance, there are situations where individuals become agitated when others bypass long lines by making appointments through the app. It's surprising that some people need to be reminded about the concept of appointments. It's commendable that you chose to handle such situations calmly instead of resorting to violence. Well done. The moment I heard about Mrs. Parker's terminal diagnosis, my heart sank. Little did I know that the upcoming cancer fundraiser would be overshadowed by an entitled sister-in-law's attempt to steal the spotlight. As tensions rose and suspicions grew, no one could have predicted how it all went down. In a town like ours, everyone had a story about Mrs. Parker. She was the one who gave Jenny her first bob cut, helped Kevin select a hairstyle for his wedding day, and even volunteered to style hair at the local theater for free. It wasn't just the impeccable hairdos that made Mrs. Parker special. It was the stories she'd share, the advice she'd give, and that warm smile that welcomed everyone into her salon. She wasn't just fixing hair, she was mending souls with her gentle demeanor and infectious laughter. So, when the grim news about her health reached the ears of townsfolk, the response was immediate and heartfelt. She was our beacon of light, and now it was our turn to shine some light back into her life. One day, while sitting with my mom at our kitchen table, she looked at me, determination shining in her eyes. "We're doing something for her," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "What do you mean?" "We're planning a fundraiser," she explained. "Many of her friends and family are helping, but most are from out of town. They don't have the connections here, so I thought I'd pitch in." The next thing I knew, my mom was on the phone every day, tirelessly reaching out to businesses all over town. I'd hear her say, "Hello, this is for Mrs. Parker." Yes, the lovely hairdresser. We're holding a fundraiser for her, and we'd be so grateful for any support. Her hard work soon began to show results. Donations poured in from all corners, gift cards, baskets filled with goodies, special discounts, and even exclusive experiences. One day she came home with the brightest smile saying, "Guess what? The local airport is donating 2 30-minute airplane rides." But the most surprising donation came from our bowling alley. Mr. Thompson, the owner who also coached our high school bowling teams, was always a pillar of the community. When my mom first approached him, he told her, "Give me some time. I want to make this special." True to his word, a week later, he called my mom. "Hey there, I've decided to donate 2 brand new bowling balls along with 2 one-hour bowling parties for 10 people each." My mom was overjoyed. "Oh, Mr. Thompson, that's incredibly generous. When can I come and pick them up?" He replied, "Give me 1 more week, and everything will be ready." And that's just one of the many stories from our little town, coming together to support one of its most beloved members. Mrs. Parker may have been battling a fierce illness, but she wasn't doing it alone. Our town made sure of that. Scrolling through Facebook, my mom had been diligently posting about all the kind souls donating for Mrs. Parker. She wanted the town to get a sneak peek into the exciting auction baskets for the fundraiser. One sunny day, she decided to give the bowling alley a call to check on the donation. Holding her phone, she said, "Time to see if the bowling goodies are ready for pickup." When she hung up, she looked baffled. "Someone already picked it up," she told me. "Who?" I asked, surprised. "No idea. I wasn't informed and nobody in our group chat knew about it either," she replied, scrolling through her phone. Suddenly, the wheels in my head started turning. What if someone saw your post and just took it, thinking it's up for grabs? She looked thoughtful for a moment. "Could be. Let's find out." So I decided to dig a little deeper. I called Mr. Thompson, the bowling alley owner, asking, "Hey, Mr. Thompson, do you remember who picked up the donation for Mrs. Parker's fundraiser?" He replied without hesitation, "Yeah, a lady named Jane. Since she's family, I assumed you guys sent her." I looked at Mom, eyebrows raised. "Jane? Does that ring any bells?" She immediately sent a text in the group chat. "Hey folks, does anyone know a Jane?" The response was almost immediate. It turns out Jane was Mrs. Parker's sister-in-law. What made it even weirder was that she hadn't been part of any of our planning sessions or group chats. So why was she collecting donations? Mrs. Parker's daughter soon clarified the situation. "Oh, she brought them over to Mom's house. She told her it was a big donation from the bowling alley." Mom frowned. "Why would she take them there? We're storing everything elsewhere to avoid crowding her place." I could only shrug. Seems like she wanted some credit, maybe? The next day, I remember sitting in the living room, flipping through a magazine when Mom walked in. A mix of confusion and frustration etched on her face. "I just don't get it," she blurted out. "Get what?" I asked, putting the magazine aside. "Why would Jane, out of all people, pick up the donation? She never had any part in our planning. It's like she swooped in out of nowhere." I frowned, trying to piece together the situation. "Wait, she went all the way to the bowling alley to get it?" Mom nodded. "Exactly! She doesn't even live here. She's half an hour away. Why would she go so out of her way for this?" I leaned back on the couch, puzzled. "But why take it straight to Mrs. Parker's and not even tell anyone?" Mom threw her hands in the air. "That's what's baffling me. She was trying to take credit for the donation, made it seem like she was the one who pulled it all together." A sigh escaped me. "But she hasn't done anything for the fundraiser." Mom looked at me, her eyes welling up a bit. "I know, and the worst part, for a brief moment I thought we had lost that donation. I thought someone just took it." Mom and I sat in contemplative silence, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily between us. As the seconds turned into minutes, an unexpected chuckle escaped Mom's lips. "What?" I inquired, caught off guard. She shook her head, grinning. "You know, I just remembered something about Jane." I leaned in, intrigued. "Go on." "Well, rumor has it, a few years back, she tried to gatecrash the mayor's daughter's wedding. Wearing a bridal gown she claimed she'd mistakenly thought was for a costume party. She has quite the reputation for wanting to be in the limelight no matter how absurd." My jaw dropped. "You're kidding! She tried to upstage a bride at her own wedding?" Mom nodded, laughing. "Yep, that's Jane for you, always seeking attention, even if it means turning herself into the town's laughingstock. Maybe her picking up the donation was just her latest attempt to steal the show." I joined in the laughter. "Well, she sure has a knack for making things interesting." We both chuckled, imagining the lengths Jane might go to next. And while her actions left us baffled, it also added a bizarre twist to the story, one we'd surely remember for years to come. I honestly thought sister-in-law was going to be one of those people who was going to steal the donation to then sell it and keep the money and not tell anyone. Thankfully, it seems like her motive was just to steal the spotlight instead. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now or you're definitely the jerk.